we have the roll call, please?
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Here.
Ms. LaBeouf?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Ms. Hand?
Here.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Roberts? And Mr. Gear?
Here.
Okay, there are, I guess you would call this a communication from the chair. I want to just explain something that it's become obvious is not always understood by the public. In order for a case to be approved by the BZA, state law requires a super majority. So it only allows for one no vote. So a 4-to-1 vote would pass. A 3 yes votes and 2 no votes, it would not pass. So it's not like your typical simple majority. So I just want everybody to understand that so that you'll know, should a case not pass, should a case have a 3-to-2 vote, why it doesn't pass. That's all I have to say, and the vice chair is not here. The next item of business is old business to update the rules of procedure and bylaws, and I'm going to move that.
Minutes.
Oh, yeah. I did skip the minutes, sorry. Does anyone have any changes or additions to the minutes from last time? No. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Now, old business. I'm going to move the updates to the bylaws to the end of the meeting, so our good people out there don't have to listen to a bunch of esoteric stuff that means nothing to them. So I call BZA case SV 21-07-01 to 2913 Park Ridge Drive.
Madam Chairman, my name is Chip Barganier. I'm here representing my wife Susie and myself. We would like to do a addition to our little house. So she has a 1923 Craftsman bungalow on 2913 Park Ridge Drive, and it currently has a small little porch lean-to kind of structure on the back, and it is not in line with the right side of the house. And what we would like to do is line up the proposed addition with the right side of the house, so it would not be going any further out than the original structure to the neighbor's side. And I've submitted a letter from my adjacent neighbor whose house we would be closest to, and she's in favor of our doing this project. And but since it doesn't meet the standard requirement of a 5-foot setback, we're asking for a 1'7" or 1 foot 8" variance to keep the brick foundation of the new addition in line with the original footprint of the house.
If there's anyone here that would like to speak to this case, they can come forward now. Seeing none, I close the public portion. Any members of the board have any questions?
Or any online, too.
Or any online?
Yeah.
I don't see any.
If anybody online would like to speak, use the raise your hand function, please. Doesn't look like it.
No. Okay. So we close the public portion and go to questions from the board.
So what I'm seeing here, when you take the deck down and part of the house, you take down some of the house?
Yeah, the porch is something that was just a work in progress. I built it because I had the timbers to do it with, and I needed to put them in the air so get them off the ground. But we're going to extend the roof line of the porch over to intersect the house. But the little shed roof that you see we're gonna do away with that room and create a second bathroom. So it'll be a massive 2-bedroom, 2-bath house.
So does that structure come down?
No, that stays. The little shed, if you can see, looking under the
Yeah,
porch, if you will, there's a shed roof. Okay, so.
Right.
All right, so see the brick,
There.
okay, that little structure, that's coming off. So we're gonna raise the ceiling height in that room and just intersect, to carry the porch roof line over to intersect the main house, and then it'll all look like it was done at one time. We're gonna match the siding, match the brick, and match the roof structure.
So you're just extending the house in the back,
Yeah,
and it gets up to the shedded porch thing, okay?
Mhm. So that's, Joe Ellis is our architect, and that right side, see, we're using the same style window and the same wood siding, and we're just bringing over the roof to meet the house from the porch, and screening in the porch, and put a permanent stairs on the back. This is one of those where the cobbler's children have no shoes. I'm a builder, and this 6-year-old project I need to finish before my wife gets a new husband. So.
Mhm. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept BZA case number SV-21-07-01 as presented.
A second.
All right. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Hand?
Yes.
Mr. Gear?
Yes.
And Ms. LaBeouf?
Yes. You have 180 days to pull your permit.
All right. Thank you so much. I
You're
appreciate your
welcome.
time.
Go make your wife happy.
That's right.
And next is BZA case SV 21-07-02, 406 Broadway Street. If you'll come forward and give us your name and address and the nature of your hardship.
Okay. Are we supposed to sign in? Okay. Hi, I'm Becky Rhodes from 406 Broadway Street. I moved here 3 years ago to be near my now 5-year-old identical twin granddaughters. I have a beautiful, well-kept cottage-style home, but it's small with around 1,150 square feet. I need more space to accommodate a few modern conveniences, like a large closet and a utility room. The survey shows I have a small house on a small lot. The lot also narrows as it goes back towards the alley due to the curvature of the road. The current house that has been here for over 92 years has always been less than the 9 foot from the right property line. My proposed addition and deck would extend along the same lines of the existing structure to keep the house consistent with the original style of the home. You have letters from both of my side neighbors saying they are in support of my addition. I hope you are also. So that is why I'm requesting for a 5 foot 5 inch extension or variance.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to come speak for this case? Please come forward. Not seeing any. Brian, is there anyone on Zoom?
If anybody online on Zoom would like to speak to this, please use the raise your hand function. No, ma'am.
Okay, then we'll close the public portion and go to questions from the board.
So the proposed addition is basically where the deck is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then a little deck after that.
Mhm.
What's the materials? Looks like siding?
It's original wood, and that's what will continue. Yeah,
Pretty
continue
much be
the
all
same style,
extend the
yes.
roof, all that, same shingles.
Mhm.
Are you gonna make any changes to the front of the house, or is it gonna stay? This is all just
Yeah,
in the back?
just the back.
Good, it's beautiful.
It is.
Thank you.
Okay. Mhm. Yep. You want to make a motion? Y'all are going to force me to. Okay. Y'all know I don't like to do this. I move that we approve BZA case SV 21-07-02. Hmm?
You can't do it, will you?
Well, actually, the bylaws say I can.
Oh, did you read something we don't know?
Yeah, I finally read them.
I'm with you, I didn't think the chairman could.
I didn't either till I read it, but
Typically, the chair
Yeah.
doesn't, I know.
the motion.
I will make the motion.
Okay.
That we approve BCA case SV 21-07-02.
Second.
Good.
Okay. All right. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Hand?
Yes.
Mr. Gear?
Yes.
And Ms. LeBeau?
Yes. And you have 180 days to pull your permit.
Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You threw me a curveball.
I know, well, it did when I read it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, whoa. There were a lot of shocking things in that if you read it.
I didn't remember seeing that part. I did read it.
I didn't tell this. Okay, I call BZA case SV 21-07-03, 514 Edgeland Place.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Mike Simmons. My wife Lynn is here in the audience with us. Our current address is 4800 West 87th Street in Prairie Village, Kansas. We're here tonight to seek a variance, a front variance on our lot at 514 Edgeland Place of 10 feet, which will still leave 35 feet to the edge of the street, 20 feet to the property line, then there's a 15-foot utility easement in front of that. We're asking this because of the hardship of the lot itself. It has a terrible, strange diagonal line running down an alley on the south side of it, and it's a big lot, but the building area is kind of small for that much square feet. So that's our ask. Don't appear to be blocking anybody's view or doing any damage or harm to anyone by asking on this 10-foot variance. So that's my ask tonight.
Thank you. Open the public hearing. If anyone here would like to speak to this, they may do so now. Seeing none, we'll go to people on Zoom.
Doesn't look like it.
Is somebody trying to speak, Brian?
No, that was me. No,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, all right. Then we close the public portion and go to questions from the board. Okay.
Did we see this
Yes.
property earlier with a whole different design, right?
You did.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we went
Thought so.
back to an architect and got a different design on it to try to utilize the lot better.
Yeah, it's definitely better. question I have is how deep's the garage? Looks extra deep.
It is, we're gonna put a safe room in that garage. And so that extra space there behind the cars is gonna be a safe room, one of those pre-built ones. I think it's gonna be one of the metal ones that we can't do basements here
Yeah,
very well.
I see that's kind of pushed back of the
Right.
garage. I'm just talking about from that point to the front of the garage, it seems like that's an extra deep long, which pushes you out over the setback a little more than you might have to be. I don't think you can get completely, out of the setback, but it does look like, just based on unless those are the tiniest little cars in scale, it just looks like extra
Well, those
deep.
are small cars. If you scale them, I told my wife they're compact cars actually, so it's not as much room as it appears to be there.
You should have had them put the Ford 150 in there. So.
I should have. And I think we did that on prior plans. It didn't work. So, absolutely.
And I have a question, and staff may have to help me with this too. I cannot read the dimensions on this plan very easily. The side setbacks.
Okay. So remember, they got a variant, as I stated in the, I think it's in part of the property details and history. When they came in April, they got a variance for the sides.
And this meets that. I couldn't read it, so I don't.
And so it's going, they got 5 feet on the sides.
Okay.
So it was,
It was 5 feet on the alley side, 8 feet
on the other side.
homeowner
yeah.
side.
And
Which
then,
there's
and it was the 14 feet, 14.9 feet or something that they had requested before
Okay.
on the front. And that's what was denied.
So those dimensions come out correct?
Yes,
I just
the
wanted to double
dimensions
check
work.
that. Okay. I just
Yes.
was making sure.
Yeah.
'Cause
And-
like I say,
and-
I couldn't read it. It's too tiny.
No, and we'll make sure to, when the building permit comes in, we'll double check it and triple check it and all that.
One thing, there is another 10 feet between our 8 feet and the other house too. There's a drive going down through there, so.
Right.
It's a total of 18 feet.
I was more concerned about the side with the house, the right-hand side as you face the house and that. I know that's a
Right.
driveway, but still.
Right, it's 8 feet.
Do all of their, what they can have according to the code, so I
Right.
want to make sure that, okay. Just wanted to make sure it was correct, okay. Thank you. Okay.
And then the variance that's being requested is just for this triangle piece, not that
Correct.
we would
Yes.
approve it for as submitted, not that you get the whole
Right.
setback to fill out.
That's right. As a matter of fact, to make it work, we're setting it back about 6 inches.
That would be the smartest thing anyone could do. Whatever we say, go back just in case something changes.
Yeah.
It's very smart.
Just tighten the belt a little.
Right.
Weekend surveys are suspect.
Don't tell this poor man. Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Is it possible to have your garage and not get a variance? I mean, if you made the garage a little bit smaller, maybe pushed it back into the safe room a little bit, trying to find
I'm going to answer that.
Okay.
Sure.
We all but cut out 2 scale houses and put them on this lot. We moved stuff around. And after meeting with Mr. Simmons a couple of times, and looking at this house plan, we felt that this was the better option on this lot because the location of the garage will sit behind the detached garage across the alley. When, instead of on the right side of the lot, that might affect that property owner. And the way the lot is shaped, you know, with it wider in the front, it's difficult to get a house with a garage and a safe room that would go back and still meet those setbacks and the rear setback. So when you've got all this space in the front, we were trying to just to find something that would be the least obtrusive to the neighbors, and this seemed to be the better option. And it is only, you know, just that point. But if, I think I said in the report, if you follow the line, the setback line, and were to continue it across the alley, then it would go into the middle of that detached garage, which will then block, essentially, their extension. Does that make any sense at all?
Mm-hmm.
Sherry, do we know, like, what is this, like, an average length of a garage and what the dimensions of this garage is?
We could find out. I mean, this, you know, I don't know that, I think part of the reason that this looks like a big garage, if you're looking at my staff report, instead of their application, is because of the cars not being shown in the staff report. But I don't know that, in that picture was kind of misleading too, that one, because that's not all garage.
Yeah. I feel like it. I actually think it looks shorter in this rendering than it does in plan.
Yeah, it scooched back a good bit from the last request.
We worked really hard to do that. We,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
to move it in there with an architect and get it done. And the garage is not oversized.
No, it's not a big garage.
That was the question. So what I know from garage depth, right? So parking spaces are 19 to 20 feet deep. So if you put a car in that space, it kind of fills it up. So you gotta have some room in front of it to walk around it. So, you know, one would say 25 feet is average. I don't know what this is though, because it didn't have a dimension. If we know, not talking about that.
There's a little bit more for that safe room up there.
Well, I'm saying the safe room is an indentation, so
Right.
that you have a wall that, you know, from that wall that's out from the safe room to the
Right.
doors. Do we know what that dimension is by chance?
I don't know, but I'm sure it's not
'Cause
more
that's-
than 25
that's
feet,
what you're
because
asking.
that's a heck of a
That's what I was
garage.
looking at,
If you
too.
think about it, that's a deep garage past 25.
Yeah.
I mean, that F-150 probably fits in 22, 23 something.
Well, you can get them in a
Yeah.
20-foot space. The bumper might be hanging over, so you're right. Yeah.
Right.
What is that room behind it? I can't read what it says.
That's the safe room.
No,
No, talking
Oh,
about the
not
room.
that
the room behind it, not the little,
Not the,
I see the indentation with the
Is it a
safe.
pantry?
The room behind the garage?
Yeah, is it a
Yes.
pantry or
It's gonna be,
laundry?
yeah, it's part of the pantry and mudroom and that. And what we tried to do was follow that diagonal line down there and utilize the lot as best we could. I mean, that was our point in trying to do it. I had quite a conversation with Ty, you're maybe not so to speak to him, but you're an architect, you know, you don't like to do diagonal lines and structures unless it's modern looking. And so that's what we were trying to do. I think this is a good picture right here. If you're coming up Edgeland Place from Morris, you can't even see our house or where it would be, and you actually can't see it once you get up to the garage, right where the red triangle ends or whatever that. So what I'm saying is we're not blocking any view coming up Edgeland Place from Morris at all, and actually covering up some fence and an alley coming down Edgeland to the south, so.
I motion to approve SV 21-07-03.
I'll second.
All right. Ms. Smith?
No.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Hand?
Yes.
Mr. Gear?
Yes.
And Ms. LeBoff?
Yes. Your variance is approved, and you have 180 days to pull your permit.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I'll call BZA case SV 21-07-04, 1117 South Shadesview Terrace. I have a hard time with that word.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Benjamin Mahaffey, representing my wife and our two boys, James and Jacob. And we're at 1117 South Shadesview Terrace. Our hardship, as you can see, is we're requesting a variance or reduction of 4.8 feet on the Windhaven side. That's the corner lot side. The property as it sits is currently non-compliant at 5.2 feet. We're not in this master suite and guest bedroom addition for the growing family that we have. We're actually not building out on that side. We're building out the back, but the property as it stands is currently non-compliant. So that's where the hardship comes in, and that's why I'm here tonight requesting a variance of 4.8.
Okay. Seeing no people in the audience, I'll go to the Zoom meeting to see if we have anyone who would like to speak.
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so we close the public portion and go to questions from the board.
With the additional square footage, do you have to do something with the AC generator, all that stuff that's already existing, or?
Yes, sir. The current AC unit, the current generator will stay where they are on the side. And then I believe we'll be adding a 1-ton unit right next to the current existing unit to take care of the additional square footage.
Which is allowed in the setback, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that at one time, Ms. McGrath. It might have been before you. We had
Was
to
it
change, we had to
before
get the code changed.
Oh, really? That was in
HVAC,
between- that was
in between your terms.
Seems logical.
It did.
How's the driveway gonna finish? Is it still gonna just kinda,
Yes, sir, it'll still have that arch like that. And then if you looked at the renderings by Rob Martin, you kind of saw those two columns. That'll actually be a carport.
carport?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My boys will probably take that over and ride their bikes under it more than it'll be a carport. But.
My usual question about parking pads in the back, Ms. Williams will make sure about the backyard coverage percentage.
Well, and this is attached. This is an attached carport, so it's not detached, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah. It's not,
Yeah, it's just a space left under.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a space left under, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just want to make sure.
Same materials, painted brick,
Yes, sir. So the painted brick will actually be on both sides. It already exists on the sides. So the additional will still be that brick, but the full back side of the house will now be hardy board siding. But it'll be uniform. Everything is brick except for that full length on the back. It'll be hardy board.
Mandy, did you have more questions? Oh, okay.
Move we approve BZA case SB 21-07-04.
Second.
Mr. Goodwin?
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Ms. Hand?
Yes.
Mr. Gear?
Yes.
And Ms. LaBeouf?
Yes. Your motion passed, your variance is approved, and you have 180 days to pull your permit.
Thank you all. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you.
And so now you've left us with the vows.
This better be fast.
I hope. Okay. Let's say page 2, does anyone have any changes or any questions about what staff recommended?
I had a suggestion. It seemed like there was one open-ended piece left. After item 2, it's just talking about the 2 supernumeraries who shall be appointed. If that doesn't occur, don't we have to follow up? And I wrote this, it can be wordsmith. If not section 2, then item 1 applies for a new appointment for that ward vacated,
That sounds good.
just to allow to know what the next step is. Go back to number 1.
Okay.
Whatever the
Yeah.
right way to say that.
That makes sense.
Who
Is
did
someone
this?
taking notes?
Yeah, who
or-
did this? You did this. right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. That's why I wanted to make sure we know.
Yeah, you know, we were trying to provide for an opportunity for the supernumeraries to move up into unexpired vacancies when they can. So you think the wording's a little.
No, that wording's right. I'm just saying, if that doesn't occur, like no one wants to do it,
Right, then it
go
has
back to
go
item
back.
1.
Yes,
That's all I was saying is
Yeah.
close the loop of what you do next if they don't
Right.
want it.
okay,
Okay.
okay, got it.
All right. Anybody else on that page? Next page, section 5 about the meetings, I think, yes, we should include something for Zoom meetings.
Or conference, we might not use Zoom all the time.
Right, or for electronic,
Yeah, whatever the generic word.
whatever, I don't know, have the other boards made any changes to theirs, or?
It's in theirs to change as well.
Okay.
Because they all say we're gonna meet in here
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the bottom, so we have to provide for an alternate when and if needed.
Yep.
So I'll get an appropriate wording there, but that's the intent.
Yeah, on rare occasion, it could be that the council chambers were gonna be remodeled and you couldn't physically meet here, so.
Yep.
And it maybe,
It's just
in
have to call
addition
the
to
chair.
online, there might need to be another
alternate
suitable site acceptable to the committee or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
that's
So
fine.
maybe some wording like that also.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
have a
that'd be
flood,
great.
a fire or something. Okay.
Yeah, something could happen.
Yeah.
Next page, page 4. I didn't have anything.
I actually had some, but it could have happened before this, but I just noticed we kept seeing the word he.
Well,
We have she, she's, and she's, right? I mean, shouldn't we be a
we
little more?
have days and,
Yeah, shouldn't we be a little more,
That's true, let's be a little more.
Shall we use an X?
right.
whatever the appropriate way? I feel like we're in a Seinfeld show now.
I agree. That's a good catch.
I do too. Yeah, I mean, you could do that from a simple word search and
Yeah, I'll
make,
take care of
clean all that up.
One would hope new Robert Rules of Orders have taken care of that. They still call it
Well,
Robert, they probably haven't.
Robert only applies when,
Yeah, they should be
He's
Robert.
Well-
Robert, he's not Bob.
and it's Robert, not Robert. I mean, it is, his last name is Robert, not Robert, so
Oh,
the
that's right.
apostrophe
That's a good
goes
point.
in a different place. Just to be a ticky English major here. But,
That's all I have.
but our bylaws state that our bylaws govern what we do unless it's not covered in here, in which case Roberts is the default, so.
Hence that you want to make a motion.
All right, but if you'll read section 12, rules of debate, item A, the presiding officer may move second and debate from the chair and shall not be deprived of any of the rights, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I read that,
don't
and I
mind
didn't
being
even, I didn't even catch
deprived.
that part. I read that, and didn't think of that.
I would prefer to be deprived.
Well, you used to be the one that made the motion.
I know, and
That's
so
why
all
you're-
of y'all were
you're
sitting around waiting
pent
on me.
up. Yeah, pent up. I wanna make a
And under
motion.
Roberts, you can't, so that's what
Got it.
gets me. It's,
Well, under Roberts, you can't.
well,
You would, if,
You
if
would-
it's a contentious something and nobody wants to make a motion,
I
then
can
you
remove
can
myself.
say, well, you
have-
don't have to remove yourself.
Yeah, you
from
have to,
the thing.
yeah, you do.
Well, you can say that a motion for blah, blah, blah is before the board.
Right,
And then somebody second it,
yeah,
and it's not really
me making
you
it.
making the motion.
That's not the chair making it, it's just me
Right.
stating that, yes. But
But-
that gets so ticky, you know? I mean, if, I
Yeah.
don't know, we could leave it in there, but y'all don't expect me to speak up too
Well,
often.
Is that the question? Should we change it back to the way it is? I mean, the way the rules are?
I mean,
Because it seems a little weird if you do make the motion,
I
kind of
know.
like you're
It's-
moving everyone. Come on, let's hurry up, let's go.
right, and I don't want
Which
to.
I'm okay with that, but others might not.
Well, I don't want to do that, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I might want to, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, just allows the flexibility.
Right, this is true, so, okay, good. So there's a reason we have you here.
Yeah, it's not a shall.
Until the next board president just takes over and goes along.
Yeah, hey,
Well, then it's still a may, it's not a shall.
But they can do it.
They could,
they could.
You know,
That's y'all's problem then.
but I've always been of the opinion that the chair is.
I agree.
Is, you know, the queen in this case. And, in the absence of a tiara,
Mhm.
she still is the person who leads everybody else and doesn't, or doesn't make the
Right.
motion. But
I have some tiaras at home, I can
I
bring
think you should
one
wear
next
one.
time.
Next meeting, I can see it now.
No.
I think if you wore one, it would keep you from, yeah, you wouldn't want to make the motion.
I would not. I would not. Okay, then we can
Get
leave
you a
it like.
taller
since-
chair.
Or a booster seat here, goodness gracious, y'all. I know, but then my feet don't touch the floor, so, you know, anyway. I'm sure I could file a lawsuit about that, short people being discriminated against, but anyway. I don't see anything else on that page. I agree about changing the postage. I think we've changed that for
I had
planning commission.
I had an extra thought on top of that. Because I always think about you coming to my house. I mean, we could say, or by staff hand delivered to the residents, right? I mean, we can do it by foot, right?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to even put that in there, because somebody's
That's
gonna,
all the adjacent property owners as well.
yeah, I don't know about that.
I
Is it
don't
6
know that
houses?
it
Of course,
does it need to say it, I mean, just that you will receive them, that they will be delivered to you? Does
No.
it have to say by hand or by car or by horse?
because then,
or-
if you do that, then you're putting the responsibility on the postal service to deliver within that same amount of
No,
time.
I'm not, no, we're not gonna make,
This paragraph is only for adjacent property owners.
okay, that's what we're talking about, okay, no.
I know, the
Okay.
complaining, yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is, if you try to hook the two together, the post office is, as you know these days, is not delivering when they
no,
want to,
no.
and I don't want to encumber staff to have to deliver something by a date that the postal service isn't encumbered with as well. You see what I'm saying? If we're gonna put a time limit on a delivery.
It has not less than 5 days prior to the hearing. I'm the case where that was under 5 days, when I was next door to the case. Mine came on Monday.
Did it ever show?
It showed up on Monday. Tag tore off in my mailbox,
We just
done.
have to have it just has to be postmarked by us.
Yeah.
After that, you know,
Since-
that's the,
Since the pandemic started, the postal service has allowed
Yeah.
them,
Well,
the postman to
Even
sign it.
before the pandemic, my perception was that it takes longer for certified mail to get to people than just regular mail.
Just regular mail,
It
right?
really is,
Probably goes to a different department.
yeah.
Well, I think this, you hit a good point, is maybe we talk about when it's postmarked and not when it's delivered by.
Yeah,
You-
it shall
you
be
can-
notified.
You can control when it's postmarked,
Yeah.
obviously. You
Yeah,
can't
I would say
control
when
this
it's
5-day
postmarked
thing,
rather than-
right?
Just insert the word postmark
Working.
in front of not less than.
Well, it says notified by mail.
I know, but,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, do we wanna put postmarked in there?
Postmarked,
Not
less than 5 days, yeah.
Okay.
I think that makes more sense. That
Yeah.
gets us off the hook with
'Cause I
the
could
post
con-
office.
Someone could contend that, well, I didn't get it in time, right?
I'm
But it's
sorry?
not, someone could contend that they didn't get it in time.
Right.
Well, that's not our
and
fault.
we can't.
We have no control of
We have no
that.
control over
Right.
that.
Yeah, I think we should just control what we can control and
Right,
leave the rest of it
right.
to whomever, you know. Okay, on the bottom of that page,
I didn't understand that one, unless it's because often there are, you know, there are setbacks quite often, generally, if that's why the building inspector.
and I thought it was the fire marshal,
Where are we?
The very bottom of page 6.
the very last line.
It says that, the first hearing shall be a complete fact-finding public hearing, blah, blah, blah. 8 copies, it must be provided to the 5 regular board members, the 2 supernumerary board members, and the building inspector shall have a copy.
And I thought it was the fire marshal. So, I was, because
Well-
didn't, the fire marshal used to give us,
Well,
a long time
you know
ago,
what happened.
an opinion on every case. And then that we got a new fire marshal and he didn't want to do it anymore. He said he would do it when he didn't, like as happened with that house. Devon, last year, somebody help me here, the windows
Right.
being on the side of the house,
It's too close.
that was too close.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the first time since back when
And again,
that we heard from the fire department.
But I think
And
that
I
came
think-
from Wyatt, didn't it?
No, all of the applications that I get now, I have always gone over them with the fire department and with the building director.
Okay,
And so, when, I had the comment about, you know, they couldn't get to the back,
right.
Yeah.
and
that
you were
case.
going, what are you doing? Yeah, I mean, that's just,
I could
Something.
add fire marshal there.
Okay.
but I don't understand why that's in there anyway. What we do as staff before the meet, it's not like they're gonna show up here, but it's assumed that, even if we didn't have this conversation with the fire department or fire marshal or the, building director beforehand,
It seems
that it's
like
gonna have to meet all those requirements if it's approved. So, I don't understand why this is in here.
Yes, but would that house got, I mean, I would hate that house to have gotten to the point that they were getting ready to get a permit and then the
Well-
fire marshal say no because of those windows, and then them have to,
Right,
'Cause-
but that's, you know, that's,
I mean, if we can,
that, when I see stuff like that, I always go
Yeah,
check.
that's you though.
Okay.
So this is for others.
Because but I
yeah,
mean,
this is for
might
whoever,
be
Whoever,
all of
never.
us, yeah, this is
I'm
for,
okay with that.
Won't be
What's
me.
the right terminology for building inspector? That's not really the right terminology.
Chief building official.
Shouldn't we say that? It says building inspector, shouldn't we say chief building?
Either that or building director.
Yeah, whatever the
Or
right.
director of the building department, or
Whatever
the
the
director, you know.
correct
whatever
term.
the correct term is.
Use the
They're
correct
calling it
term.
inspections and permits.
Do what?
The new department is called inspections and permits. That was Brian.
No,
Oh.
no. But we would want the building director or the chief building official or his designee, her designee.
Yeah, because their title may change
Yeah,
and
I mean-
while these
Yeah,
bylaws are
that's
still
the
in
deal.
effect.
You know, the chief building
That's-
official is
yeah,
always,
something
the chief building official always
Whoever's
applies,
at
whether
the
they're
top.
director or not, the chief
Right.
building official would apply.
Right.
All right, so just update that word and add fire
Yeah.
marshal.
And add fire marshal, just so we've covered our bases. Okay,
Yeah, the new department,
whatever.
yes, fire marshal. Yep, fire marshal and chief building official will always,
But we should say that
We
they'd
should-
always be.
Yeah.
We're
we
just
should-
saying have it in there so it's always done that way.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, the last item that I had, unless somebody else has something else. On page 7, rehearing. Where there's substantial change in facts, evidence, or conditions, the board may accept an application for rehearing. Understand that. The next sentence, though, any matter not previously reheard by the board may be heard again on a motion adopted by unanimous vote of all members. Now, my question is, and this came up after I talked to you, Vicki, and I read it for the 8,000th time. All members. At first, I'm thinking that's the 5 members. But if you read Section 2, membership, the board shall consist of 7 members, as follows.
All members present.
So all members,
Present. Wouldn't that take care of it?
does that make sense? And is that, and since this is,
I see what
it's,
you're saying, yeah, because technically the supernumeraries are members of the board, but
They are not voting members.
they're not, yeah, they're only voting when someone else isn't.
Right.
but if we say all present,
Or
then there may all
sitting.
7 may be here, but only 4 may be here.
It'd be sitting, the sitting members. Would that not be it?
Voting? The voting members?
Well, because we don't know, it would be whoever is the sitting members or the voting members. I don't know if.
I mean, the voting members have been established for that meeting, right?
Well, okay, just to play, if, say in this case, since Mr. Foley's not here, if Stewart had called in, then they would be alternating voting.
Oh, wow.
Don't you hate English majors?
Wow.
We're terrible people. Because we try to parse
So the
everything.
2 supernumeraries have to,
As it reads now, I think it
Talk to each
means
other.
all 7, have to vote yes.
well, then at that point, I would just say all members present, because all 7 might not be here.
Does
I
that,
wanna call in a friend or.
am I? Don't call me after I've left, okay?
Why wouldn't you just put 5 members?
Because it says the board shall consist of 7 members.
I
So
know,
we think it
but I'm
means 7.
saying, in this, why can't you just put any matter not previously reheard by the board may be heard again on a motion adopted by the unanimous vote of 5 members?
What if there's only 4 of us?
Right.
Yeah, what if
Well,
there's
then-
only 4?
And what if there's,
Or what if there's 6?
what if there's 6 and you're not letting one of them vote?
Members present,
I mean,
You want to just do all members present?
Yeah.
is that gonna cover us,
I
John?
think that covers present.
I know, this is ticky.
Now, could you
But
explain to me what matter I'm voting
But
on?
you would still need to have a supermajority.
Hmm?
Well, it's unanimous, right?
No, this is, this one's unanimous.
Yeah, this is unanimous.
This one's unanimous. This particular
Yeah, one vote
action
against
is
it.
Yeah.
unanimous.
You don't bring it up?
But let me ask you this, I mean, what if 3 people show up?
Well, then we can't have
We
a
don't.
meeting.
Can't do it.
You can't.
Because you have to have
We're
4.
not allowed
You gotta
to
have a quorum.
We
Yeah.
cannot have a,
No.
start a meeting.
And when we're
Right.
4, we let each case know that it's a 4-0 vote.
Yeah, that's
And
why I
they can
said that
always
at
wait till
the,
the next-
that's why I said that at the beginning.
Right.
Because
Now-
we had a recent case where they thought
What
that
matter
the
am I
3-2
voting
vote was
on? I don't even understand what I'm voting on. What's this matter that we're talking on?
A rehearing.
a rehearing.
A rehearing that night or,
No, it would have to be notified and everything like,
okay.
In
If-
theory, so one of you would say, I'd like to rehear this case, and you would make a motion, and somebody would second it, but then it would
before the next month is when it.
Or
goes.
whenever,
Then you
depending on
have to
how the
have
times.
a vote just to hear it. Then we'd have to do all the notifications again, so it wouldn't be a same night thing.
Yeah, right.
But
And it
you
may be
know-
that the people decline to come back.
Yeah, true. Well, you would only, I would think it would only come up if they approached. Maybe.
Tonight was a rehearing.
Well, yeah, we did have a rehearing.
But we-
That was substantially different, and they just
'Cause-
That was sentence one.
Because that's covered by the first
Yeah,
sentence in
reapplied.
that.
Yeah.
They just reapplied.
They reapplied. This is for
Yeah.
a case that was totally turned down
And was not changed.
and has not been changed.
You're saying we, as a board, could bring it back if we wanted to, if it was unanimous, to
Yes.
rehear the
Mhm.
same thing?
The same
Nothing
Yeah,
different.
but Robert's rules allows that too, so,
Hmm.
you know, if you didn't want to get all muddied in here with it, you know, you can just default back to Robert's rules.
But you're not, are you suggesting we would petition to do this? Somebody on this board could
No,
petition
no.
to rehear something?
Yes.
It,
There's no petition by anyone on here.
You might
We could
say,
just be
"I wanna
sitting
rehear
here
that."
and at the, when I say, are there any other things to come before the board, one of y'all could raise your hand and say, I'd like to make a motion to rehear blah, blah, blah. Somebody would make, I'd say, do I have a second? We'd get a second, and then we'd discuss it, and then we'd vote,
That'd be unanimous.
and it'd have to be
Present.
unanimous.
It has to be unanimous, yeah.
And then we'd have to re-advertise.
I don't know that that's what you're talking about. I don't know that it's called a rehearing.
Mhm.
If we're talking about what we're talking about.
You're thinking the applicant would have to request?
See, that's what I thought we were talking about.
It doesn't-
all the time.
No, now, I know the board can revisit a matter previously heard,
Mm-hmm.
That's, and
but
that's what we-
it's not,
Yes, that's what we're talking
We're
about.
going to my original question. What did I vote? Yeah, because I don't know what the matter is.
I think
I
it's
feel like it would
a
be if I was not here.
motion
y'all
to
voted,
reconsider.
And I wanted to vote differently or skew something, then I would say, I motion to rehear this, right?
It would be a reconsideration.
Right.
But not a
um,
rehearing?
That would.
Well, it
But
says-
it would have to be the same proposal.
Yeah, but it has to be the exact same
Well,
thing
it's
we
the
heard
same,
before.
'cause if you don't change what you're doing, you can't come before us. This is saying if there was substantial change in facts, evidence, or
Yeah.
conditions, meaning around it, that could be presented that
Yeah.
might change our vote, right?
That sentence
Yeah,
is
that's the
for,
first sentence.
that sentence is for
They're two different.
one that we
purposes.
turn down, and they make changes, they can come back.
No, I'm saying that's rehearing is where there is substantial changes in facts, evidence, or conditions.
I think there's.
So that's something we said yes or no to, most likely it's a no.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't that they want to come back because they're changing it, they're just saying, hey, there's additional information that has developed for you to consider,
Yeah,
bef-
that
you
might
know,
have made a difference.
made
Right.
a difference to it. So that's what a
Right.
rehear, you're rehearing something that's already been voted on, most likely it was a no.
Right, but then the second
It
sentence.
could have been a yes, and we got new information that says, oh, they shouldn't do that, you know, it
Well,
could go either way.
They get out there
The
and,
second sentence.
Applicable to the second sentence.
Yeah.
And that's what
No.
the second
Fine.
The
part,
second sentence is
Yeah,
when
that
they
could be
don't
what it
have
is.
We
change,
never should
and
have
they
said
just
yes.
want you to
Yeah.
look at it again.
yeah.
Maybe those two sentences should be separate.
I agree with you.
In the
Just
bullet point or
like an A
something.
and a B there.
Yeah,
So we can.
yeah, because I see them as two independent things,
yeah.
You were right.
and I see the intent as.
Well, the two
independent.
sentences can't be independent when they're in a paragraph under rehearing.
Yeah, well,
They're related.
right, well, it could be rehearing A and rehearing B.
Take out number 4 and default to Robert's rule.
We need an and or an or,
Yeah.
like it's either this and this, or. it's
Anybody
this.
want to pull up the state code and see if that's covered in state code, and we have to leave
Could
it
ask
that way?
Kendra.
I can look at
You
it.
could ask Kendrick what rehearing, what he's trying to,
I don't, because I don't
Vicky,
know
what
that it
if
should be.
what if we just took it out altogether and deferred to Robert's rules about how to
I know a lot of,
rehear and reconsider?
Well, I don't know.
And those things.
I know the the planning commission requires a substantial change, don't they? Or you have to wait a year.
Mhm.
So, you know, the fact that there's not a time limit on rehearing something that hasn't changed, is kind of a surprise to me. Or, like tonight was a rehearing based on a substantial change, but if he had come back to, you know, if he wanted to bring that back and for you to look at the 14.9 feet like he originally did in April, so that would be no change, then what you're saying is that the board would have to vote to rehear it, and then it would be heard next
So
month.
that would be at the request of a
So
applicant.
If the request of the applicant is to, for you to rehear something that is unchanged.
Okay.
I
I'm
don't-
fine with that.
But if, then you could vote yes to do it, or he could, if you voted no, he could bring it back
With changes.
without changes in a year,
Oh.
which is what planning commission allows.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have that written, is that a Robert Rules thing, or we have to write
No,
that?
it's
down?
just,
to their
it's just
rules.
part of planning commissions, that way.
Does
you
that
don't
have to be in
somebody
here, or
coming-
we just follow that, the year thing?
No,
Does
we'd
that
ha-
be
we'd have
in
to
here?
put
We
it
have
in
to
here.
Put that in here.
You know, an unchanged application
Right.
would have to wait a year for another review.
Because currently, they tweak one little thing and then they come back.
The tweakiest little thing, I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a
Yeah.
little bitty
Don't
tiny
you
little
remember the
tweak.
guy that came like 3 months in a row?
Yeah.
A couple of year or so ago?
Well, no, yeah, it was like,
Oh, the pool guy?
I can't remember
Yeah,
where it
the
was.
swimming
but-
pool in the back.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
with the
Oh, the swimming pool.
pool and the
Yeah.
carport.
yeah.
How
Yeah.
would
He
that,
came twice, I thought.
how would
Maybe
that
I
have
missed one.
qualified for
He came
It came
twice,
twice,
yeah.
yeah. And then I got
How
a
would tonight have qualified for
Facebook message from a
substantial?
neighbor
No,
wanting to
the-
know why
the
they
example
were
that you don't.
digging a hole
It
for the
didn't-
pool. And I said,
it
I guess because it
didn't, but we
conformed
don't
to
have
the
any
limits,
wording.
because we sure turned
We
it
said
down.
no.
There's nothing to quantify
Well-
what substantial is.
Well,
So,
isn't substantial, like,
substantial, noticeable?
isn't substantial subjective to whoever's accepting
Right.
the
Exactly, there's
application?
nothing to, there's
Yeah.
no way from, like.
No, but my point is that if y'all would use your discretion, and in that case, your example, you would not allow them to be reheard.
Well,
Yes, but
it
the-
gets us in a position of getting in the
Yeah.
way of due process.
Process.
You know, every citizen has a right to petition their board for relief,
Yeah, okay.
you know, and so it kind of,
But you don't
puts us
have
in a
the
different-
right to kick a dead horse. And so, and in
Could you
my,
tell
you
that
know,
to some
like, I
people,
might look
please?
at an application and not think that it is a substantial change, when Vicky, who has a softer heart than I do, might look at it and say, okay, yeah, I can see how this is a substantial change. What is substantial?
yeah.
Wait, so then aren't you essentially saying there's no point in saying substantial change in these bylaws? Aren't
I'm
you?
saying we need something more defined. I think substantial
It's arbitrary.
is very arbitrary, and it,
Well, then how are you?
That's what I'm
suggest-
saying.
Wait, can I finish?
we need to quantify it.
Can I finish? So I'm asking you, how do you suggest to quantify it?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. What do you want to do? These
Well,
are
I
your
don't know.
bylaws.
I was trying to,
Yeah.
trying to.
Well,
talk-
I mean, what do you want it, do you want to vote on whether or not the change is substantial, which would put it, you know, a 2-month review?
Mhm.
And as a re-review,
Yeah.
that's not unreasonable, I don't think. So, I mean, we could bring
No,
an
because maybe
application,
I wanted to rehear it.
we could bring an application to you for consideration. Do you think that this is a substantial change that would, warrants a
exactly.
rehearing? And then you can decide whether or
You're making
not
us
this
take
change is substantial.
They're making us.
Yes,
decide.
making us,
I
because-
feel like
I think
that
that's
is a
cumbersome.
waste of time. because
cumbersome.
Essentially, we would be voting on denying the variance. If we, do you know what I'm saying? Voting on
Correct.
whether or not we're gonna hear it, we'd
Mhm.
have to hear everything. But denying their variance or approving the variance, we would have to hear everything. It would be the same.
Mhm.
I don't know the
Yeah.
point of us having to re-listen to something, to
Because-
re-listen to it again.
Because we would have to, send out public notices and everything, but if you're
Right.
not gonna even
But
hear it, then if, I'm just asking, do you want the decision of a substantial change to be something that you make, or do you want staff to decide if this
Staff.
change is substantial?
Staff.
If you want staff to decide that this change is substantial, staff needs guidance on what you believe a substantial change to an application would be.
Like tonight, just for example, he went from asking for 14 and a half feet, or 14 or
Almost,
something,
almost 15
down
feet to
a
10.
10-foot variance. So that was, what, 25%?
Was that a substantial change?
yeah,
The point of letting the staff decide is for you to decide what's substantial.
You create the,
Yeah.
not us.
But
We change.
But it's but
I think what Vicky and Sherry are saying is that we don't want to get in the way of someone's due process when they come in.
Well, but this rule's been around for a long time, and it's worked okay.
The bylaw provides for it. What do you mean? Provides
This substantial thing has always been the staff
yeah, they've
has
come
done
back
that, and
with,
it
they,
hadn't
the
been an
man
issue.
on Winna came back.
Oh,
I mean,
because we've always moved it through. We've always said, sure, you can be reheard, you changed.
That's
your
fine.
Variance request.
That's
And
been
if
fine.
you're happy with that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We're
been,
happy with
I
that.
haven't had a
And
problem.
there aren't that many really truly.
Yeah, it's not that
No.
many. I think there could be one that we talked about, but even then it was like,
I
it
mean,
was
we could put
different.
a limit
And
on
I don't
it.
know that we voted, I mean, a lot of them we don't even vote on, we just, they get the drift of the conversation, and they say, well, let me see what I can do and come back next time.
It sounds like if there's any change at all, then it's gonna be substantial to us, and they're
Yeah,
gonna be
right.
able to come back.
That's
through
fine.
and be reheard.
That's fine,
And when it's substantial, you make them go through the whole process again, they pay another fee.
yeah.
See, I have been on a completely different wavelength this entire time, because rehearing to me means you're rehearing the exact same thing. And that I thought substantial change in facts, evidence, or conditions means they're coming back with the exact same application, but they've discovered a geyser on the property, and all of a sudden we're gonna vote yes instead of voting no, or vice versa.
I feel
That's
like
fair.
I think
That
that's what that
includes
first
that.
sentence kind of means. The first sentence means something has changed.
But not the application, that's what I was.
Right, they're
Well,
still asking
but
for
they're
the
still
same.
asking for a rehearing. But it can be something that, yeah, the geyser has been, or the sinkhole has appeared.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was thinking of sinking.
and,
Or they could have recalculated whatever, like this gentleman, and made some changes to their plans in
Plan,
order to ask for less than what they asked
It
for
can be-
before.
any change.
Okay, see, I thought rehearing meant they're asking for the same thing. They just want it reheard.
No, that's the second sentence. Well, they're not
That's
asking.
what- that's where we're
We're,
getting to the
we're
second
just,
sentence.
someone on the board just up and decides they
Well,
want to hear.
I'm with Joy, Beth, on this. This is written, those two sentences were linked together when this was written.
Right,
And especially when they want a unanimous vote, that's a big deal, right, to get
oh, yeah.
5, 6, or 7 votes to say the same thing. So it's a substantial change in facts, evidence, and conditions, not the application. It's gonna be the same application we heard last month, that we voted whichever way we voted. They feel
Okay.
like new evidence has come up, they wanna present it to us to see if that changes their mind. That's what this rehearing is. What we're talking about, substantial change, that's just another application for another day, and you
Yeah.
make that decision if they
Yeah,
can
I
do
see
that.
what you're
Yeah, it's
saying.
the,
That's
yeah.
exactly
okay.
what that's about.
Yeah.
This isn't trying to address when they come back with changes. This rehearing is about the exact same thing. It's
So
about,
having
it's
not
about this
changed.
hearing
But
thing.
their hardship.
The-
Has changed.
Yeah, not the
There wasn't one
application, it's
before.
just, hey, we found out,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
whatever, and we're like, oh.
Indian burial
I didn't know,
ground.
yeah, Indian
Right.
burial ground,
Now
or,
we, and
hey, we did what you wanted, but now we can't build there because,
it's the owls are mating.
yeah.
That would be a reconsideration.
That would be a reconsideration. Yeah, that would be- yeah, mating owls.
Video needed, probably.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I agree. This rehearing, those two things are linked. It's not about when they want to go change their case. This doesn't even address that.
Yeah. Well, if they change it, then then
They
it's
just
a
change it
different
and they get
case.
to
It's
come.
a
Yeah,
different
you make
case.
that decision all day long if it's
Yeah.
enough change.
So you're saying like if they came, presented it, y'all turned them down, because they really couldn't demonstrate a good heart, but oh my gosh, they found out something that really gives.
Well, they might come back to you and you all find the hearts. You're like, oh, man, we didn't even know that, right?
Yeah.
So the
then
board
they-
didn't hear it.
So then they come back and say, my conditions have have changed because of this sinkhole. So
Yeah.
I want you to hear the exact same.
That's what you're
request.
rehearing the same case.
But with different,
But
with new
then-
information.
With new information. However, is that what you're saying, you need a unanimous
Yeah.
vote to rehear?
Yeah. You would bring
Okay.
that, you wouldn't hear the case, you would just bring, hey, this case has come
I
back.
see, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Here's
With this
why.
extra
We have some extra
information. Okay.
information,
Yeah.
it is this.
Now
And we
Does
wanna
that
know if you'll
warrant-
rehear
Does that
it.
warrant enough for y'all to rehear it? And we'll go, okay,
Sure.
or
Yeah.
whatever.
And then you start the process.
And then you don't
That
have to
makes
do the
sense.
whole case, you don't do the whole case. Obviously, it's not being presented because next month, you're gonna send out all the
Right.
flyers. and
Right,
stuff.
that makes sense.
I-
Okay,
I-
That's what this is trying to say.
We'll try to reword
Word
that,
that,
so
yeah.
we're all like clear on.
Clear about, it's the rehearing of the exact same
Same
case.
Yeah.
Where substantial change in facts, blah, blah, blah.
Versus
And at the
change
end,
in
you
the
say all
request.
members present for the unanimous.
right.
Then you got
And
it.
then it will be run through the process in the normal way.
Okay.
Link all that together from start to finish.
I'm glad
in
you
some
brought that
way.
back up, because I
Yeah.
was there, then they caught me talking about something.
Yeah, I
else.
was on two
I was
different
down another
things
path.
there.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll play with that wording.
Okay. Thank you. See, 5 brains are much better than one.
That's always the case.
With their,
Well, there's 5, 6, 7.
well,
there's
with
10.
their wonderful staff that has far more experience.
You had 2 things highlighted, but I didn't know why.
Okay.
I knew there was a reason.
You have to remember this one. I think you on board. Remember when the NPD, the front corners had to line up and the rear corners, but on a curve that went
Yeah.
hell in a handbasket,
Right.
okay? So the default was 25 in the
Right.
front. I don't remember what happened, but there was a default. There was a house that was being built and it was in a sharp curve. I defaulted to the 25 because of it. Someone who lived a mile plus away said he was a person aggrieved, because it says any person aggrieved. And he tried to get it, do something, he filed. Then the ruling was, and I don't know how far this went, that he didn't have standing because he couldn't even see it from where he lived.
Right.
And.
Oh, this is Lucerne.
Yeah, I
Well,
was thinking it was
It's
certain.
Lucerne.
No, this was when I was here before.
Oh.
Yeah, this
It
was
on,
my first
Murray
term.
Hill or in that area. So anyway,
Well,
so
it was
what
Lucerne,
ended up
too.
happening, then the aggrieved, he went to the next door neighbor who had not protested, talked him into saying he was
It was
aggrieved because
agreed.
it was next door, but the limitation, the 30 days or whatever had run out.
15.
So the bottom line of
Yeah.
that whole thing was, when it says any person aggrieved, shouldn't there be a?
Yeah, right.
Yes, but this aggrieved person has to go to circuit court.
Right.
So they're not coming here.
That's what happened.
That
Yeah,
is-
he
I
went to
mean,
court.
that's,
No, that isn't what this said.
Yes, it is.
It says time of
Applications for appeal.
appeal to the board may be taken by any person aggrieved or by an officer, department, blah, 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 affected by my decision.
by your decision as a
Well,
zoning administrator?
yeah,
Oh, so that's just an appeal of the decision of an administrative officer.
Okay, you're right. The one that I was concerned about was one there is somewhere that said any person aggrieved, but you're right, they go to circuit court.
They go to
here.
circuit court, so
Yeah.
if they're gonna,
Okay.
if they wanna be aggrieved from
Yeah.
3 miles away and go to circuit court, knock yourself out, but.
Yeah, and the other thing was administrative.
And face
We-
Kendrick.
But this is an appeal of the decision of an administrative officer, which is when
Yeah, that's when I say it isn't.
you make a decision that somebody doesn't care for and they think that your interpretation is
Is wrong,
incorrect,
and then y'all-
and they come to the board and the board
Right.
acts
And
as
Like-
the zoning
about it-
administrator.
Like that garage, like the garage that we had last year.
Yeah.
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 So, and the other thing was about the city of Homewood's never had a zoning administrator, ever.
Yeah, you put the right terminology, whatever,
Yeah.
right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It's an appeal of the decision of an administrative officer is what
Right.
is in the state.
So change
Well,
it to
then
that.
change it to
So
that.
It just needs to,
but it says affected by the decision of the zoning administrator.
Well,
We'll
change
change it
that.
to the-
it's just administrative officer. It's any administrative officer. It could be the fire department, the fire marshal,
That's true, but this says,
I know, but
No, we're
what I'm
saying
No,
saying
change
it
it. We're saying
needs
change
to
it.
We're saying
say
change it.
is
Change it to that.
administrative officer.
okay.
Yeah,
Which would then, it covers the chief building official, it covers any administrative officer,
Okay.
Kale, or,
But
you know, but anyway.
I'm not sure, and the reason I say that is this board has jurisdiction over the zoning ordinance. It's only a
Well,
zoning
right,
decision.
it would have to
that-
be a zoning decision made by any administrative officer. So it wouldn't be just the zoning administrator.
Well,
Who knows?
Well,
okay.
it says appeals to the board, it's this board, so we're already talking about BZA, right? I mean,
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
already
there has to
established.
be an appeal to a
Zoning
interpretation or a
of an-
decision
yeah.
that, of the zoning
Of the zoning ordinance.
something that was in the
Right.
zoning ordinance.
Like that
Yeah.
garage last year.
Yeah. I just,
I don't know if you have to put that, because this is for us, we're in the Board of Zoning Adjustment, so
Right,
it
so-
can only be about zoning.
Well, yeah, that's why I said though, it can't.
But you're the Board of
A decision
Zoning.
to fire marshal about a fire code is not, that's why I was.
Well, our board doesn't hear that.
I'm just saying, if the fire, like, the fire department would not, you know, said that they didn't want that house, or had concerns about that house because of not being able to,
Well, we had a steep driveway one time at the fire
Yeah,
department. didn't we?
that was a
Well,
long time ago.
I mean, just recently was the one when, you know, when Nick said that, or when Chief said that, you know, they couldn't get to the back of the house. It was too far from the middle of the street to
Street.
the back of the house.
But
and-
that's not a zoning.
But it's, in that, no, it's not a zoning thing. It's but it was something that was brought up during the meeting.
It was
because
during
I'd
the
taken
zoning
it
meeting.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we just change it to.
Have we had a problem with this? Why are we talking about this?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think we
she
just
was
need to-
saying that we don't have a zoning administrator.
I would just say
Zoning-
administrative officer
But
versus.
because
zoning.
Yeah.
you are actually the Board of Zoning Adjustment and
So
Appeals.
that's the only thing you're gonna come to us is about that,
Right.
right?
What, zoning appeals? Yeah.
No, I'm saying if this,
Yeah.
something happens that was about something our board would be seeing, then that's when you come appeal
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
But it's any-
We don't have to
Any other
say
time, it would have to go to,
whatever.
like, the Board of Appeals for the construction industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the,
But it specifically says they're appealing a decision made by the zoning official.
Well, they won't be when you change it to administrative officer,
Okay.
right?
Right.
But it's the only person that generally makes an interpretation of the zoning ordinance is the zoning official.
okay, we
Yeah,
can put
that's
zoning
That's fine,
official, that makes
administrative
you happy.
officer,
It doesn't
you're
matter.
part of
It
that.
just needs to be.
I can see a new
Something-
fire chief
Because it's
saying
usually
something.
called the administrative officer, but it doesn't really matter. If you want it to say zoning administrator, then, or zoning officer, that's fine.
Pick,
I don't
pick
know
some
that it
term
matters.
Makes sense.
that makes sense to
I
y'all.
want it to be generic enough, but at the same time, it's.
Well, now
it's
you're,
gotta-
it's one or the other.
It's,
It's one or the
Yeah.
other.
But it needs to be who, a person, the person that makes the final call on a zoning decision, that they would have to appeal. If I made a call and Kel said, I don't think you're reading that right, or why, and they say, and we agreed that, well, if we didn't agree, I guess, but I would defer to them because they're bosses. But generally speaking, if I make a call on something and a citizen or another department says, I think you screwed up and that's a crappy decision, then they would come to you for the ruling.
Well, that's fine.
That's
Doesn't procure.
Put whatever
preclude
y'all
administrative
works
officer.
for y'all. This is an internal thing for y'all.
Well, I guess it is. I just,
Yeah, y'all battled out, I wanna go home.
Yeah, we don't care.
well, for the most part, it's gonna be a citizen or a business, or a contractor, somebody that would say, you know, I'm sorry, the way I read this, and he says, you're not reading it right. I've been told.
Well,
If y'all are having fun, I would encourage you to come upstairs anytime between 7:30 and 3:30 because we do this all
All
No.
day.
I'm always nervous when someone comes in with set plans and I'm
Yeah.
there. And I want to get out as fast as I can. I don't want anything to do with it.
If I'm there, I have a set of plans in my hand, so that's the only reason I'm there.
I don't know, we're always
It's
arguing.
every day.
The mayor was sitting there just shaking his head.
Okay, so the last thing is the title of the office on page 9.
Yeah, whatever the
Just
correct
correct
name-
it to whatever
the
it's
name
supposed to
is.
be, yeah. Those are called housekeeping items, and certainly we'll defer to y'all on that. Is there anything else to come before this board tonight?
Nope.
This meeting is adjourned.